Okay, so this is module 2, part 2. So I'm just going to quickly mention about the importance of getting down on the floor. As I mentioned in the previous one, this is the keys to the vault of changing everything. It's so important to get down on the floor with the children. Getting down on the floor can mean literally getting down on the floor physically, right where your child likes to play. Other times we can get on the floor metaphorically by doing what our children like to do. Getting on the floor also means joining in the play that we would rather ignore or eliminate. So this concept, this idea is so important because there's two ways. One is actually getting down on the floor, and I'm a key believer of this. Whenever you go into a nursery, you should always look at the practitioners to see if they are down on the floor, down to the eye level. This is massively important. Bakshi and I, we emphasize this and teach this in our nursery. And this is one of our core elements of our nursery. All practitioners must be down on the level of the child. Us standing over the child, hovering up above high, can be intimidating for the child. And on top of that, we can't actually see or connect with them. So actually getting down to the level to play, we can connect better. And on top of that, it builds patience. Because if we're standing, we start seeing all the stuff that we need to do around, or we need to quickly, we're able to move faster. But if we're down on the floor on our knees, life becomes a bit more slower. We have to build our patience. And when we've building our patience and life has become a bit slower, we instantly get to the speed of our child. And now we're connecting and bonding and building rapport. This is I told a story once to my children, and it was about this giant, and it was about a giant that lived amongst the villagers, and the villagers were very small people, and the giant had a really loving heart, but he wasn't able to connect with anyone. He actually thought that nobody liked him, so he used to walk from his home to work. And he used to look around, and he realized that nobody would communicate with him. So he became very withdrawn, went inside of him. He became stern and walked across. There's one boy that used to see this happening on a regular basis. And he looked at this giant and he thought, I feel sorry for this giant, but I don't understand why he doesn't communicate with us. I don't understand why he doesn't even say hello to us. So this boy named Jack decided to climb the giant's leg that looked like a huge beanstalk. And he climbed to the top and perched himself on the shoulder and shouted, "Giant, why do you ignore us? Why do you not connect with us? Why do you not play with us?" Now the giant was shocked. He said, "I thought you did not want to play with me. I thought you want to be left by yourself." And Jack said, "No, we always speak to you. We always communicate with you. But you're so high up that you're unable to hear us. If you want to hear us, you have to come down to our level and really look into our eyes and see our spirit, see our smiles." The giant realized what wrong he had been done. He was stuck in his way. But also he realized that he didn't know how to communicate. And this boy, Jack, had just taught him how to do it. He became friends with Jack. And every single day when he came out of his house, he would go down to the people's level when he saw them and say, "Good morning, how are you?" with a huge smile. And the small people, the little ones, would smile back and say, "Yeah, I'm great." And he built so much connection, and he gained so much love and lots of friends. And this directly relates to this concept, the giants. We are the giants that walk amongst the little ones. And the little ones are communicating to us. Jack is communicating to us. But we are so high up, we don't see this. But when we go down to their level, we can actually see into their eyes. We can see their smiles. We can actually say hello and then wait for a response back. It's a story that I made up for my children. Excuse me. Okay, so continuing, a repetitive play does not change as long as it's played in isolation. So if the child is playing by themselves, they won't know how to break out of it. Children need approval and enthusiasm first before they can get out of the rut and move on to better play. So we are the ones that need to be able to provide this approval and enthusiasm. So even if the goal is to stop a certain type of play, the only effective way is to join the play for a while, which can give children the space to change. And I love this picture right here where the children are bouncing and the mother decides to jump in and connect with her children, and she's doing a somersault in the air. When we constantly tell children what they should and should not do, they have no room to think for themselves and are forced to choose between resentful obedience and defiant rebellion. And this is where we think as parents that we are helping our children by telling them, you should be doing this, or you should not be doing this, or that's not the way to behave. And yes, we as parents, as giants, we do get frustrated. But remember, we live in a different world, a complicated world, and we cannot expect the little ones, the children, to come and live in our world, because our world is just too complicated. We need to go back into the world that we once knew, the magical world, the children's world. And once we're in there, we can play and teach through play and learn through play. Why is it hard for adults to play? Adults have lost much of our ability to play through lack of practice and through adult preoccupation and worries. And this loss gets in our way of being with children. We have to take the initiative to reconnect instead of waiting for our children or giving up. So it's almost like a muscle that we need to build. Our muscle of play has become flabby. We need to re-enter the world where we're exercising this muscle and making it strong again. And at first, just like everything else, when we do something, at first it feels hard. It feels like we're not doing it right. But by practice and doing it again and having an attitude of never giving up, we become better and better and better. And our muscle that was flabby once is now strong and solid and hard, and we're able to play with the children in the most loving way. We have to take the initiative to reconnect instead of waiting for our children or giving up. Unfortunately, the times when children most need us to play with them tend to be those times when we have the most difficulties in playing with our children. Just when our children need us most, when they act up and misbehave and call us names, and we get angry and we start punishing them, or we feel hurt and block them out and push them away. Now, when I say punish, you have to understand, punish is not in any way physical contact. That's something that is absolutely a big no-no in the UK and in USA, I believe, and wherever it is in the world. It should be a big no, because a physical contact with a child is just basically breaking them. It's like having a vase, an expensive vase, the most priceless vase. And the physical contact of anger is like pushing it off the edge of the table and it shattering into pieces. And to get glue and to fix that shattered vase is impossible, or will take a very long time. When I mention here punish, I mean scold in a way. We get angry and we kind of say, no, we don't want to do that. And that is something that most parents do on a regular basis, which we do need to keep a check on, because that's us basically pushing the children back into a black hole, which we do not want them to be, a tower of isolation. Children need us to make a big effort to overcome our own negative feelings, to play the games they want to play the way they want to play it. So we have to remember that sometimes we have our own issues to overcome. We just need to overcome them, because it means the difference to our children and their future. The nurturing abilities of fathers are seldom acknowledged, and I am one that, speaking to my friends about this, it's absolutely true, and even more rarely encouraged. So the nurturing abilities of fathers are seldomly acknowledged and even more rarely encouraged. Fathers often feel marginalized within families, pushed out of the center of the family life, assigned by themselves of somebody else to narrow range of roles that might or might not include play. So fathers do feel this, and this is why I started off. I mentioned that fathers should listen to this. Now, mothers might have bought this for themselves, but fathers and mothers both should listen to this. My friends, they feel the same way. They feel they don't feel important in the family. They feel like they don't know what to do. But not knowing what to do is another way of saying my muscle is flabby in play. I don't know how to do it. Luckily, Bakshi, my wife, taught me the right way of doing things and how to play with children and to connect, and it's created a world of never-ending possibilities and connections and love. And I'm able to jump into two worlds, one world, the children's world, and one in adults' world, and it's so much fun. One of the best developments in the last few years, or also, is the great participation of fathers in the nuts and bolts of childcare. The tendency of mothers to perform most of the daily parenting alone is not only an unfair burden on women, it is also a disaster for men to be left out of the loop of day-to-day parenting. Real parenting takes a commitment to the everydayness of parenting. Fathers have always been children's main playmate for rough and tumble play. This play has over and over been found to be good for children, as long as it's not too rough. So we always have to understand that wrestling with the children, and I will speak about rough and tumbling later on, we have to set boundaries, limits. We do not want to be using our strength. We want our children to feel powerful. And as children start getting stronger, then we can start increasing our strength and taking the children into the slight uncomfortable zone to be able to push a bit more, to release that energy. But fathers and children need the ordinary and everyday interaction too. Children need for men to expand their repertoire, to cuddle, comfort, and play dress up. Cuddling and comforting the children is such a massively important thing. One technique that I do use, and I see this and it works magically, is when my child needs a cuddle and he feels slightly isolated, I reverse it around. I get to his level. I say, Daddy feels really sad. Daddy feels like he needs a cuddle. I feel really alone. Something that my child might be feeling. I've actually just said, I feel it. And I say, Daddy needs a cuddle. So I basically said, I need a cuddle. I've given him the power to stand up and say, oh, okay, I'll give you a cuddle. And he gives me a cuddle and he's in power. But he's not only become powerful and confident, but we're able to connect. So it's a great technique. That's a great one to do. Just flip the role and say you need the cuddle rather than do you need a cuddle, baby, I think you need a cuddle. No, forget that. It's more, oh, I need a cuddle, and the children, that you've given the power to the children to build their confidence. So distance is what boys and men struggle against. As more and more men favor closeness over distance, fathering won't have to be a separate section in parents' books. A special note about non-parents. So non-parents, someone like grandparents, uncles, aunts, non-parent plays a unique role in the lives of children. Parents and children often get stuck in a deadlock, which makes playtime less than fun. Other adults can often intervene to unstuck the play and get things going again. Non-parents may offer a different kind of play that parents are not comfortable with, such as play that is messy or a bit rowdy. My brother, he's great at this. My children's uncle, he's able to push them to a different level that I would not be comfortable with. And it's great. And also with my parents, my children's grandparents, they're able to do different things. When me and my son are stuck in our play or don't know what to do, they come in and they change it all up. So non-parents, even if they are recognized as adults, they can be accepted as one of the children's gang in a way that parents cannot be. And children benefit from a thoughtful, respectful adult who can be seen as an ally rather than an enemy. And one example is I'm a martial artist. I've been doing martial arts for over 22 years now, and I want my son to do martial arts, and he does martial arts at school. He does judo, and I brought him some MMA gloves, and I was hoping that he would be able to do some boxing with me, but he, for some reason, didn't want to do it with me. And maybe it's a sign of respect, or maybe it's a feeling that he feels slightly not as powerful, disempowered, because he's seen me do my thing. But when my brother, his uncle comes along, all of a sudden he's got the gloves on and he's boxing his stomach, my brother's stomach. And I sometimes feel slightly jealous, thinking, why? But then I have to just remember that that's a non-parent's role. They need to come in and give them new options. Tuning into your children. When tuning in, the first thing to notice is, what do children need? Is it food, a break, maybe attention? I'm always amazed when adults say, "Oh, he's just did that for attention." Naturally, children who need attention will do all kinds of things to get it. Why not just give it to them? For playing purposes, it's especially useful to translate whatever you hear into the language of closeness and isolation, confidence and powerlessness. So whenever you're playing, we need to be able to see and think, is the child trying to communicate a closeness, or are they isolated? Are they feeling confident, or are they powerless? And from there, we can adapt and change our play. Tuning in does not mean questioning our children about every details of their lives, especially if they're under 5. If you question a child, it usually takes them about 15 seconds to respond, which is too much for a parent. And then they start saying, hurry up, come on, quickly. They don't realize that when a question is given to a child under 5, the child needs to process it in their brain and then get an answer out, and then the answer has to go to their mouth and they have to think about how to communicate. It takes them a long time, and our impatience can really tune them out. So if we do ask a question, if a child is under 5 and you ask them a question, count 15 seconds before you ask the question again, and just sit there and just wait, and you'll realize that after about 10 seconds, a response is going to come. But tuning in, also for children that are older than 5, it doesn't mean we just keep asking them questions. Another mistake is cutting them off when they are talking about unimportant things, or when they are chattering about nothing, or when they're repeating themselves. When they're doing that, this is another way that children are communicating, trying to make things better in their head, or something's happening that we do not understand. By us cutting them off, we've basically cut the valve off from the pressure cooker again, and the pressure is going to build up to a point where the child's going to withdraw and become isolated, or they're going to go and have a tantrum. We have to listen to their way of telling things, even if it's excruciatingly dull for us. If we want them to get around to telling the good stuff, we do need to listen. Understandably, they want to know that we are really listening and aren't going to interrupt them or scold them before they are going to share anything important with us. And this happens with my son on a regular basis. He comes home from school, I ask him, how's things going? I ask him a question, and I'll wait, even though he's over 5. Excuse me. I still use that method. And he does answer, but the answer is fine, yes, enjoyed it, good. It's only at night time when I switch off the light and it's time for him to go to sleep does all the day's information come out. And that's a very important time, because that's when the good stuff's come out. But that is also a sign that you've done your job right. And you've listened to the boring stuff and listened to the repetitive stuff. Because once you're in bed and nobody's around and it's time to go to sleep, that's the time when the child wakes up their life and starts telling you. So human connections are always changing, flowing from connection to disconnection to reconnection. Playing can be a guide through these rapid changes. When we join children in their world of play, we unlock the door to their inner life and meet them heart to heart. That's the end of this module, and I'll see you in the next module.